What is up, Instagram? I got a buddy of mine, Scott Layne, coming on from Surf and Shore Performance Center, another physical therapist, performance physical therapist, someone who's, as you'll hear from him, someone who practices a lot of similarities to what I'm doing and following some mobility WOD techniques and some different things that I hope we can get into today. So, what's up, guys? Here's Scott Layne getting in the house now. Once he joins, we'll get rolling right into it. Scott, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up, Dave?
How's it going from the islands?
Not too bad. It's a beautiful day. Nice, warm, sunny, a little windy, but not too bad.
I know. Listen to us complaining. We people ask how it's been by us in San Diego, and it's like, well, it's been kind of cloudy. It's a little cool, a little more rain than usual, and people are like, oh, yeah, all our friends in the Midwest and everything rolling their eyes with everything. So, how you doing, man?
Good, good.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So let's you ready to dive right into it or what?
Anytime you're ready.
All right. So yeah, I kind of just want to hear, and for people listening, just your background first on how you ended up in Hawaii. I don't know. I think you're the only person I actually know that lives there. So let's start with that little background.
So yeah, I've been here 6 years now. It's been great. It's been a good move. Originally from Colorado, from Boulder. Went to undergrad at Oklahoma, and then went to PT school out at USC, which is where I met my wife, who is from Hawaii. And so in her being from here, she kind of had enough of the cold of Colorado and everything whenever we moved back there. And so now we are out in Hawaii.
So did you practice at all before you were out in Hawaii?
Yeah, so I once I graduated PT school, I worked at an outpatient clinic in Glendale, California for a month. And then after that, I graduated from there and moved on where I got the job as the PT for the Denver Broncos. So I was with the Broncos in the NFL for 2 seasons, and then kind of burned out a little bit, had long hours, and kind of wanted to start a family and everything else. Wife wanted to move back to Hawaii, so we moved out here.
What was the experience like with the Broncos? Because I know a lot of people, a lot of aspiring PTs, they hear like working with the pros, and that's their ultimate goal. But I've heard it's not
It's
all it's cracked up to be.
horrible.
Yeah,
There are so many goods. Like the 99% of the players are awesome. You know, they're there to work and get better, and they are getting paid to do rehab and get better. And most of them want to be back out on the field and want to compete. So they're usually really easy to work with. You always get some egos and little
sure.
things there here and there. But for the most part, the players are awesome. But the hours are awful. You know,
Yeah,
and
I bet.
you're showing up at 5:30 and leaving at 7:30 on a normal weekday. You know, if you're there for training camps and stuff like that, you might not leave till 10:30, 11 at night, depending on when the guys are getting out of there, and then you're back at 5:30. So
Jeez, yeah.
it's a little rough, but it was a lot of fun. It was definitely a great experience. I'm happy I'm done with it,
Oh yeah.
but I wouldn't have changed it for the world. It was a lot of
Uh-huh.
fun.
A lot of good experience. Do you still follow the Broncos?
Still follow the Broncos. Well, I like a lot of the players. It was definitely helpful knowing a lot of the guys. Um, on a different level, where you could actually root for players as opposed to a team. Which I think last season there was like 4 guys that were still left
Jeez.
over from when I was there, and a lot of them were rookies whenever I was in my first year with them. So
Uh-huh.
they're starting to either get traded off or move around or retiring, things like that.
Someone commented that they signed. Is Flacco a Bronco now? Is
Flacco's
that?
Bronco now. Yeah, he is the
I
new
didn't hear that.
quarterback.
Yeah, I'm not a Flacco guy, so
Sometimes a change in scenery is the best thing for some players. You get a change in coaching, you get a change in everything. It can revitalize a lot of those guys.
Yeah,
Hopefully that'll happen. We'll see.
we'll
You
see.
never know.
So you're with the Broncos for a couple of years, and
Yep.
then did you start your business right upon getting into Hawaii?
No, so once I moved out here, I worked at an outpatient clinic for 2 years. It was really good when I first got there. They were kind of more of a sports-oriented clinic. They were located inside of the Honolulu Club. And so there's a lot more active people that I was seeing and moving around. And then they tried to start to expand and get a little bigger. And along with that, it came a lot more diverse population, which isn't a bad thing. But it wasn't my ideal scenario. Just personality conflicts and all that. I finally, I always wanted to start my own place, and it just felt like the right time to do so. So as of April 16th, I'll be 4 years in to have
Crazy.
So yeah, I'm excited to hit that 4-year mark.
Yeah. So for those that are, Scott and I know each other through a mutual PT and business group that we're in is how we got connected. But I don't know. Yeah, 4 years already, huh?
Yeah, it's been 4 years.
So what's the evolution look like? So give me like a little snapshot of day one opening and kind of what you've learned, how techniques have evolved. I know that's a loaded question for you.
Yeah, I mean day one, I was super excited to have one person. I mean, I was like awesome just having one person on your first day instead of opening up and like there's nobody there. You're like, oh. Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely just evolved from there. First year, was good. Kind of had some steady growth, kind of month to month, moving along. And then once it kind of 2 to 3 years, I don't know, just kind of leveled out, which isn't a bad thing. But I always try and get better and try and grow, whether that's business or professionally or personally. So that was kind of, the big reason for joining the mastermind group that we're in, was to try and kick it up to another level where I can, live the lifestyle that I want to through, running the business and getting everything going from there.
Sure. What, now how is, talk people through a little bit of your, I guess, treatment style too, so someone comes to you, how it's, how that's looking and how maybe that's changed over the years too.
Yeah, so I'm based out of a CrossFit gym in CrossFit Oahu, which is the biggest gym on island, both square footage wise and member wise, which has been awesome. The owner, Bryant Powers, is just an awesome guy, huge mastermind of everything.
How many members?
I think currently they have over 200.
Jeez.
Which is a good following. If it's not 200, it's right around there.
Mm-hmm.
But so yeah, I got started in there, thankfully, just through CrossFit and getting to know all of those guys and having some space open up in there for me to jump into. And then from there, I've always been a very manually based therapist. I'm huge with hands-on. I feel like there's a lot of changes that can be made that I can do with my hands that someone else might not be able to do, and then follow that up with loading, whatever type that is, whether it's starting to just activate little muscles, because somebody's a very strong, weak person where their stabilizers are just not functioning very well, or they have some true movement dysfunctions, and we just need to re-go through movement issues where we're actually loading up a little bit heavier. Which is nice having access to the CrossFit gym is I can go downstairs and, use heavy weights and heavy kettlebells and things like that a lot of other clinics aren't going to have access to or availability to, or even the knowledge to look at that, section of athletes, the CrossFitters and, weightlifters and power lifters.
Sure. Is the majority of people you see CrossFit, or is it pretty split?
It's initially it was probably about 80% CrossFitters, And then recently, I would say I'm probably more to 60% CrossFit, and then a lot of surfers, runners. Definitely get a lot of those, but it's pretty much all active people. Every once in a while, get some really cool, just older, active people. I got one lady right now who's in her early 80s who goes to the gym like 6 days a week. It's crazy. She works out for like 2-3 hours. It's awesome. So
yeah,
like, even though she's not your traditional athlete, she's probably one of my funner patients just because she's super motivated to just stay healthy and stay active, and not become, this grandma who's sitting on a couch and
sure.
hunched over and can't do anything for herself.
She's probably stronger than a lot of people,
Yeah,
maybe half her age, maybe if she's
definitely.
putting that much time.
Oh yeah.
And that's what's cool though, is in kind of our practice model here is the opportunity to see people in more of this, proactive model. I think a lot of healthcare has shifted to this reactive approach, and we wait for something to break, and then we go and expect it to be fixed in a day, and,
Yeah.
and that's just not how it works. Are you seeing quite a few people proactively just looking to stay on top of their health then typically?
Yeah, I definitely have a good mix of people that are more of kind of the prehab, proactive. They don't necessarily have a huge issue, but they're trying to, make sure that they are moving the best that they can. If they have, kind of tweak the shoulder a little bit, let's work on that this month. And, maybe next month it's their low back or their knee or their ankle or something like that, where they're coming in more to do a lot of the maintenance and just preventative type work to make sure that they can function, before the kind of brakes fall off and it's kind of like, oh, I can't do anything for, 3-4 weeks.
Yeah.
Which is usually when people get really cranky and they want that easy fix. And it's like, yeah, it's not the way the body works. I can feel better, but that doesn't mean that it's fixed.
That's a hard conversation to have sometimes.
Yeah.
But and especially with, and not just with the CrossFit athlete, I'd say with any anyone that's hitting the gym hard, the importance of, I'm sure you see this a lot, just being able to stay on top of things before they become problems make it a lot easier, because people just want to ratchet up so high, and then they get these big crashes though where they're out of training for 4 or 6 weeks, and you look at how much they're training over the course of a year, and it's maybe not as much as they would think.
Yeah.
Do you get any chances to work with the gym? And I know I want to get to some of the other the big event, I forget the name of it, but the big event things you're doing. But do you do any like classes for the gym or mobility things or event type stuff?
I do every other Wednesday. I've started doing a mobility class for them. That's been consistent past couple months. I used to kind of do them sporadically here and there. Where I'd do, maybe a month of just mobility classes, and then kind of fell off as I was getting busier and time was more of an issue. I didn't necessarily prioritize it, and so those kind of fell off for a while. And then recently I've gotten back to doing them, which is awesome. I absolutely love teaching and, trying to give people tools to help themselves get a little better that they might not otherwise have.
Yeah, I think for the people listening, the tools of not coming to us looking to, it's not a we fix you type of thing. It's how do we use what things you already have or have access to that, shouldn't require someone to like fix anytime a little tweak happens. Obviously it's different if, there's more significant things going on or things that don't respond to the normal things, but is that, those types of things you're going over, mobility. Do you do like some mobility WOD type stuff? Do you have training in that?
Yeah, I haven't officially done a lot of mobility WOD stuff. Kind of talking to Danny and a while ago, Kelly came out to Hawaii. It's been a while since he's been out here. I got to talk to him a lot, pick his brain a bunch about kind of some of the stuff he was doing. So some of that might be outdated, but it's pretty easy to follow all of his old YouTube videos and stuff like that are still out there. There's definitely some of the early ones I think are some of the best stuff.
Sure.
where they're super simple, bare bones. You don't have to do anything too crazy. Even just like voodoo band techniques and things like that I find a lot of people are doing poorly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just going through those little things that a lot of people just don't know and don't really have exposure to.
Well, even if they watch his videos, there's certain, little subtleties. One that comes to mind is people doing like a banded ankle mobilization and they put the band up too high, or same thing on their hip. They're actually getting the opposite glide of what they're hoping for. And even, those subtle changes though completely affect the movement.
Yeah.
And being able to teach those things. Do you use a lot of mobility WOD types? I know, because this is a topic that I know is, I don't want to say it's a hot topic, but there's people that are very, and the pendulum always swings. But I learned a ton from Kelly through grad school, and just watching his videos. He was on the forefront of a lot of the performance based movement, and yes, I don't think using mobility bands on their own are going to necessarily fix you, and he would agree with the same thing. But people interpret it as it's almost this all or nothing of either I can use these mobility bands, or I can follow it, or I can't. And it sounds like have you adopted more of this hybrid approach where you're using some of it, but it sounds like you're also supplementing with your own thing.
Yeah, I've definitely found things that I've tried and that have worked for me, and even taking a lot of the concepts that they use and then just tweaking them a little bit, whether it's a little change in body position, whether, standing, kneeling, or, different things for the shoulder. I definitely don't use as much of his shoulder stuff. I've kind of found a lot more different banded stuff that I like. That's a lot more glide based, like he does with the hip, that I tend to like. But it's definitely a very big hybrid mobility WOD approach. But biggest thing is I find that as long as somebody does something, something is a whole lot better than nothing. If it works for you, keep up with it. If it doesn't work, try something else. And
sometimes we overcomplicate things.
Yeah. And, a lot of times, even with random things, like you're like, oh, this should move posteriorly with a glide, and, that's going to improve, flexion motion or whatever. And then you start moving posteriorly and it improves. It's just like, I don't know why it works, but it worked. Stick with it. Whatever.
Yeah, and I think that's, I've run into that a lot too, where I'm super convinced something will work.
Yeah.
And I try it, and I don't want to say it's always not that the opposite works, but you try something different that you're like, well, this something we'll try, but you kind of breeze through it, and they're like, oh man, this gave me such good relief, and this is the best, the best thing, and it works for them, and that's, the body's more complex than following these set rules.
Definitely.
What you said you avoid stuff for or what do you do for the shoulder now instead of?
I do a lot of different stuff. So kind of the similar stuff to what's done with the hip. We're actually trying to go APPA, where it's super close to the joint. A lot of the mobility WOD stuff I found like very wrist driven, where they'll have the band around the wrist and you'll be doing more physiologic motion type stuff as opposed to the accessory glides. So I do a lot of stuff where the band's actually, on the shoulder joint. And then, whether it's between like the squat portions of the rig, little 4-foot sections, and you're actually going into, PA or AP, and you can bias internal external rotation. Or I really like just an inferior glide where foot's on the band and you're just kind of going overhead, band on the shoulder. I found it works really well. Anybody that has overhead, just glomerular joint stiffness, it's really cool. Works
so just
really
standing on the band with the band around the top of the shoulder for those
who
aren't as familiar.
Yeah, basically, and then your shoulder flexion or kind of shoulder flexion abduction, horizontal abduction. Basically if you're in like push press or snatch grip, depending on where you're kind of stuck a little bit, works really well for both of those.
Well, it's cool, and it gives some freedom too, of which you don't have to work in a straight plane necessarily. You can. It's important to work the rotation aspect of it, different positions that are closer to where where people are limited at. Yeah,
but especially any sort of like impingement type stuff, where you just need that inferior glide to take a little pressure off of the AC joint.
Where
found it very helpful.
What in CrossFit do you see the most? Working with somebody CrossFit shoulder. Yeah.
shoulder overuse is the biggest thing, kind of impingement.
Yeah.
Tendonitis are kind of the two common ones that are probably 30% at least of what I see overall, and probably 60% of the CrossFit injuries that I see.
What do you attribute that to? Is it just a volume thing? Is it on the person? Is it on?
Yeah, it's volume. I think it's volume, and there's no real deload week.
Yeah.
For a lot of CrossFitters, it's go hard every day, every week until the shoulder starts hurting, and then the shoulder starts hurting, and you still got to work out, so you keep going, you keep pushing, and you know that you can do it, so you keep doing it, and at some point, body just has enough, shuts it down.
Is that on the athlete or the coaches, in your opinion?
Oh man, I think it's a little bit of both. I think half of it does depend on the programming, and I would say that there are definitely some waves where I'll see 3 or 4 shoulders from a certain CrossFit gym.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, how much of it is programming? How much of it is maybe these guys are working out together, and I'm not really sure. But it's sometimes people need to know their own bodies and know when to either modify or shut it down, or just take down intensity for a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is hard.
Yeah, it's interesting. I coach just one or two classes a week, help out at a gym in town, and it's it is coming from the PT background. There's definitely challenges in a group class setting, and looking at the program as a whole and how to modify around things for people, and when to scale. There's at a gym of 200 members, how big are the classes how big are some of those classes?
Yeah, it depends on the time. They can be anywhere from midday, or you have like 6 to if it's super busy class, you're 25. We had a Saturday a couple months ago that was 46 people. It was insane,
man.
Like the entire gym was just packed, and modify the workout. There wasn't enough equipment, which is very rare.
Yeah, it's at a space that as big as the one is too.
Yeah.
But you get all these people in class, and it's hard to monitor that from a day in day out standpoint. But the programming comes in to play to some degree. But it's the education piece, and that's I know you do a lot of that too. Is just the education component of a lot of people don't always associate. They don't know when to associate. Okay, is this bad, or is this a no pain, no gain mentality? And I think that gets a lot of people in trouble too.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's cool in your model being able to be right in the gym. Do you see a lot of athletes like immediately after? Or do they wait pretty long before they're coming in?
There's 2 people. There's the ones that like freak out right away, that they think that life is over. And they'll either come up right upstairs right after they're injured, or within a day or 2. And then I have some that they give it like 6-8 weeks, and then finally, oh, it's not going away. Fine. Like, you should have come in like 6 to 8 weeks ago.
I know, right? Well, and what would you say is an appropriate time frame to let some of those things for people watching?
2 to 3 weeks, I think is, if you're modifying things for 2 weeks, and it's not getting any better, you probably should get it taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
If it's starting to get better, at the 1.5-week, 2-week mark, 3-week mark, it still keeps getting better. You can definitely keep letting it go, see if you can ride it out. If it's just an inflammatory reaction and that'll heal, might as well keep it going. But if it's not getting any better or getting worse, get it taken care of. It's so much easier to fix. The sooner you get it, instead of taking, 5 sessions, if you let it go 6 to 8 weeks, sometimes it can take an extra 4 or 5 sessions to really get everything. else that you have done to yourself by compensating to fix. Once you kind of fix something, pain wanders or limitations wander, and it pops up that something else is going on.
Yeah, it's I mean, like you said there too, and it's going to vary a little bit person to person, but it's
Yeah.
much shorter than a lot of people think. Yes, you don't have to, with a little, musculoskeletal injury, you don't have to rush in to urgent care day one to get it taken care of. But at the same time, it's a much shorter window than people think. People put up with pain or think pain to be normal when, I mean, a lot of people that come in to see me and probably for you too, it's like, oh yeah, it hasn't been going on it's been like, you know, 6 months, but I don't know,
Yeah.
it kind of comes and goes a little bit, but and I mean, that's a long time to be in pain, and it just becomes so normal.
Low backs especially. It's like, oh yeah, it hurt for like 3 weeks, and it kind of got a little better.
Yeah. And then,
There's a deadlift workout. I heard it again.
yeah, there's some educational pieces that come with that, but a much shorter window than people tend to think of. It's a much easier fix, and like what you said too about all the other imbalances and compensations that happen. So it started as a shoulder injury, but then now you're doing a bunch of single arm thrusters or something, and now your hip and lower back hurt, and your knee gets your knee gets affected, and there's a lot of things that are just a result of something else that was probably overused and going on for too long.
Yep, definitely.
Who so who have who do you learn your most of your treatment stuff from too? For I mean, either from a therapy standpoint, from a training standpoint, are there some influencers that you've taken a lot from over the years?
Definitely. Treatment wise, so both my parents are PTs,
I don't know that.
and my dad definitely kind of set up my treatment style a lot. Just learning from him throughout, just watching him treat a little bit, and then once I started knowing a little bit more, he's a big manually based therapist. Also, he does a lot of hands-on. Enjoys doing hands-on. Always has kind of worked with sports, so he's been a really big influence, on a lot of the treatment stuff that I've done. And then going through school, I had a CI that was in Colorado, at the Children's Hospital, that really set up a lot of my exercise kind of philosophy on progressions and things like that. He was huge on the higher level progressions that a lot of people just don't really know or really take care of. It's kind of like, oh, once you get a baseline of these little weights and everything kind of feels good, it's kind of like, oh, you're good to go. It's like, you know, you used to clean and jerk 315. Now you're just doing these little band exercises. Like, no, that's not okay. You're gonna run into issues.
Yeah.
You're gonna run into so many more issues down the road. So it's making sure that people have all of those steps in between initial injury all the way to return to sport or whatever that they enjoy.
Yeah, for anyone catching it live or on replay, there's got to be, and whether that's with one person or not, I know we both are in a position with our background, everything, that we tend to we have the abilities to take someone through that full plan of care. But whether there's got to be a bridge in that gap from, okay, you're out of pain, that doesn't mean out of pain doesn't equate to hitting heavy metcons every day. There's a big gap in between that of making sure that you're able to be out of pain, but also get back to that level. And do you do a lot of that progression, or do you send people to the CrossFit gym for that, or how do you guys?
I'll usually take people through most of it. There is a point where I'll give them a program to kind of do on their own, and it'll be kind of modified through there, where I'm just checking in on movements and have them shoot me videos on kind of how they are looking with some of the higher level movements. And then if they do run into issues, I have some references, or they'll have video references for me where we can actually go look at the lifts and look and see how they're doing it. A lot of times I like looking at later sets when they're fatigued.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the sets are a lot more telling than warm up or fresh. Usually you can look pretty good when you're, one or two sets in, and then, all of a sudden you get to, 5, 6 sets. You're starting to load up towards max weight, especially for the Olympic lifters. It can start going away very fast, and you're doing random things to get the weights up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's such a good point. The fatigue component that people overlook. I have an Olympic lifter right now who like, oh yeah, I don't have any pain under 65 kilograms, but at that point it happens, and it's like, okay, we either need to load it up in here to see, what's going on with that, or at least video of it, or some way to see, because there's something going on that you can watch them, and it might be heavy from someone watching from the outside of, wow, they're doing a lot of weight, but for that person it might be only 70% of their 1 RM, which is they can hide things. Some of the CrossFitters are strong enough to hide things at that load or intensity.
Yeah,
for sure. I'm sure you see some strong people in the gym.
There's definitely some strong people out there.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy.
Do you CrossFit? Is that what you do primarily for activity too?
Yeah, primarily that is my exercise at this point. It's so easy to go downstairs from the gym.
Convenience.
Yeah, convenience is definitely a big thing. Surfing's definitely in there every once in a while. Don't get to do it as much as I would like, but those are the big things right now. But I get to start a little rowing. Got a rower for the house. I'm going to start a rowing program, which I'm pretty excited about pretty soon.
Is that a distance one or like an interval thing or what?
Initially, I'm going to start off with like a 5K program and see if I can just decrease 5K time, and then I'll see from there. I don't know. I've never been this amazing endurance athlete, so I don't think I'm ever working towards that marathon row. But yeah, who knows? I might go crazy and like have a midlife crisis. I had to do a marathon row. I'm not running it, so I might as well do a row.
Yeah, exactly. Save the joints a little bit. Well, cool, man. Yeah, I want to wrap up here in a little bit. I want to respect your time. I know it's still early there for you, but I want to know. So Hawaii still just intrigues me. What's the best thing about living there, and the worst thing?
One of the best things is definitely the weather. I mean, it's hard to beat. It's always kind of nice for the most part compared to everywhere else. Beaches are amazing. Ocean is awesome. And then the people, they're very welcoming. For me, it's kind of a lot like kind of that Southern hospitality that you get out. People are super friendly, very, very welcoming. So it's a lot of fun. Big thing I miss is snow. I'm a big snowboarder. It's one of the few things that I'm actually kind of good at. So I definitely miss getting out into the snow and getting up on the mountain and doing fun things.
You probably grew up on a snowboard, huh?
Yeah, started skiing when I was 4, and then switched over to snowboarding, I think, when I was 11. And yeah, I think I've missed 2 seasons since I was 4.
Wow.
So yeah, definitely a big thing that I miss. But
I learned to ski. I learned to ski only within the past couple of years, and my wife grew up skiing a little more, and she took me to my first time to Mammoth. I don't know if you're familiar with.
Yeah.
Not the best place to learn. Sweet place to ski.
It's been in this year. Mammoth's been crazy. They've gotten so much snow within the past month. It's actually really good right now.
Yeah. So I'll have to get back out and redeem myself, because I'm thankful I didn't get hurt, because I only fell about 150 times on the first day learning it. But I started to really get the hang of it by that point. You learn how to not fall.
That's how you get better.
Yeah, exactly. So unless we have any, if we have any questions coming in here at the end, otherwise, where can people, best place for people to find you, Scott?
So Instagram, Facebook are the 2 big places that I'll go to every once in a while. Definitely not as active as you, or as I should be sometimes. But at Surf and Shore is kind of the handle for all those. If you want to know more just about me or clinic, surfandshorekt.com is the website.
Cool. And I'll make sure to tag that in the show. I'll put that in the story as well after so anyone in the area. I don't know if you're in the area. That's I'm jealous but go see Scott if you have anything going on, and then feel free to shoot him or myself any messages after related to any questions that you guys have for us. Anything else before we leave, Scott?
I think that's all. That's all that I got.
Yeah, I really appreciate you getting on, man. Yeah, it's always good to catch up, and looking forward to seeing you. What we got, a month now?
Yeah, we got a little over a month, but yeah, pretty much a month.
Cool. I'm excited, man. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thanks again for getting on.
All right.
All right, Scott. We'll see you.
All right.